as well throughout the region. Glenn Ignazio is my guest, military expert. He's a retired Air Force Special Operations Commander. Good to see you, Glenn, on this Monday. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Good to see you, Todd.
All right, so what do you think Israel's going to do here, Glenn?
Boy, they've got a lot of things on the plate to decide from. I mean, they could do a direct strike against Iran. The first thing I thought of was Iran just lost all their research and development sites for their nuclear program. That was the initial. So they could do that. They could do a strike, which would be very massive against all the proxies in the area, which includes everything that has been doing direct threats against Israel. They could do nothing, or here's an out-of-the-box thinking, is would they be able to pressure Iran to say, hey, tell Hamas to release all the hostages, and you just short-circuited what's going on in Gaza, and that would preclude a strike against Iran. So a lot of things on the table, and it's going to definitely be interesting in what they decide.
You know, we were covering this on Saturday, of course, Glenn, as the drones and missiles were literally flying over, Iraq and Jordan, heading toward Israel. Your take on the fact that basically, with the exception of one 7-year-old girl, there were no real injuries?
Yeah, it's actually pretty impressive. I mean, you have to think about it two ways. The intent of Iran was to really damage and kill many Israelis. I do not believe Iran launched this volley of such volume, anticipating all of this to be shot down. The two things that I would definitely say are important is if you think about the coordination and command and control of Jordan, the UK, US, is really to be able to completely pull together and operate so effectively to take these targets down is monumental. I think that should be scary for any adversary that we have outside of NATO and so forth. But it also is very embarrassing to Iran, is literally every one of these targets, as far as we would look at it, has been shot down. So that should really put a statement in people's minds about, hey, what do they really have to launch against Israel? And I'm sure Iran's thinking about that today.
Yeah, the other thing I'm curious about is, all the advance warning that was given, the United States saying, look, the attack is coming, it's imminent, and the Iranians had almost, telegraphed, Glenn, what was coming, which did allow Israel, the United States, others like Jordan to prepare. And the drones, they were coming, but it took a couple of hours before they actually entered Israeli airspace. What was that about, do you think?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, Iran, and as far as the Khomeini and the mullahs that are running the country, really have to, have to really make a statement inside the country because they have been sort of weak using the proxies. That's what we're hearing internally. But the interesting part is the drones are like a single-engine airplane. They're going to take like up to 8-9 hours to actually get to Israel. But the cruise missiles, those are like a jet airplane. They'll take about 1 to 2 hours. But the ballistic missiles only take about 15 minutes. Those are literally the rockets that you see, and those are really hauling tail, I'll tell you that much. So they were trying to strike all at the same time. That may be a warning, but when you're talking about ballistic missiles and cruise missiles, those are very dangerous and tough to shoot down. So why they gave a preempted sort of notice to everybody, don't quite know, but I'll tell you one thing, it was probably a good call for us to be able to launch on time and take them down.
Yeah, we're going to show the map one more time, Glenn. Do you think that we are on the verge of some kind of, regional war here, that this is going to now turn into, what we're following right now, of course, is, Israel against Hamas in Gaza. But, you just see these players on the map here we've got up, and you get a sense that this could very easily turn into something much larger.
Yes, we talked about numerous times, like what is the definition of expanding and enhanced warfare? I mean, when you saw the Houthis attacking ships, that's definitely bleeding outside of Gaza in an intense type of strike. You saw 170 strikes against U.S. forces, and unfortunately 3 soldiers were lost, and that's when we finally retaliated. That's still an extension and expanding outside of Gaza. But then you see a state on state. I tell you, I was surprised that Iran actually, as a state, launched against another state of Israel. I thought they would use their proxies. But any of these operations from any of these, again, Iranian proxies, really is an escalation outside of Gaza. So what we would like to do is make sure that this does not blow up to be a full-scale war with continuous operations and strikes between Iran, Israel, and any of the other nations in the area. That is really critical to stop and make sure we don't get that. Remember, Iran still has incredible influence on the Straits of Hormuz, which would cripple the oil production and distribution around the globe.
And one final point, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, under a lot of pressure, Glenn, from hardliners to do more, to push back against what Iran did. And then there are other more moderates in his cabinet, the war cabinet anyway, who are saying that Israel needs to be very careful how they respond here. So he himself is under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it sure is. Excuse me. They had the massacre in October, and of course the operations in Gaza that have really gone well, and they definitely lost face internationally. And then you have this incredible strike against Israel, which they're saying they want to eliminate Israel from the map, and this truly was an attempt to do so much damage. So it's a really critical time. I mean, I'd hate to be in that position where it's either do nothing or do something, not knowing if we look weak in their minds or if we're too strong and kicking off a war. Absolutely the most stressful situation, and I do not know what they will decide.
Glenn Ignazio joining us. Hey, Glenn, always good to see you. Appreciate your insights and your expertise on this one.